calm but alert, relaxed but ready, smooth but sharp, humble but confident. Under the sword, lifted high, there is hell making you tremble. But go ahead, and you have the land of bliss. Choose your battles wisely, because if you fight them all, you will be too tired to fight the really important ones.
Hey, welcome back. Here's part 3 of my online test series so that I can see how people are reacting to me sitting down, talking to you through the camera. Let's talk about Ikigai. That's coming later in the video. I come from a long line of semi-immortals, apparently. As I'm recording this, I'm now pretty close to turning 51. My mom is 80 years old in good health. My dad, 89 as well, in very good health. Still goes to work every day at his own business because he likes it. And my 2 grandfathers, my mom's dad, who I did know, he was born in 1895, believe it or not. He passed away at age 90 in 1985, and he was the younger of my 2 grandfathers. My dad's dad, he was born in the year 1887. So I come from a long line of people coming from East Asia, moving to the New World, and working very hard to build up a better life for their children, the next generation. So my upbringing was a hybrid. Of course, growing up in North America for the first 25 years of my life, I went to school and grew up on the Canadian-US border. So English is my first language. But the fundamental mentality was not only from my Western upbringing. Let's put it that way. My dad, in 1977, when I was 4 years old, bought me my first book. It was the 1937 classic on self-development, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I had to wait a few years to learn how to read and before I started reading it for myself. Actually, it was in university when I was 19. But my dad, in his own words, taught me the ideas in this book to me as I was growing up, just speaking to me. So those lessons were there. When I was 15, in 1988, I first read the Japanese classic Gorin no Sho, The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. And this started me along my journey. I decided at age 12, I was more fascinated by magic and the martial arts than anything else, and I wanted to devote my life to those 2 arts. And here I am all those years later doing exactly the same thing. So anyone who gets to know what I've done with my life just sees 4 long decades of consistency, of failing along the way, just trying crazy stuff, a lot of traveling the world, television work. I've been very fortunate. And this recent attention I've been getting over the last few years has had people asking for a course like this. So here it is. I'm trying it out. Hope you like it. Let me know below in the comments, your comments and questions, and I'll be happy to see if we continue with this. This is part 3. Ikigai! Cool transition.
What's up, everyone? Ryan Hayashi here with the question, why do you even exist? Do you have a reason for living? Now, this is different for every individual person. I can't tell you. You have to find this out for yourself. There's a Japanese term for this. It's called Ikigai, the reason why I exist, my purpose. Let's sit down and I'll try to explain it to you best I can. Thank you for sitting down with me for another talk. I've always wanted to live a very long and healthy life. I guess because I love life. I was fortunate enough that all four of my grandparents lived very long lives. And my own parents, who are now age 81 and 89 as I'm recording this, and my dad still goes to work every day at his own business because he likes to. So I think about longevity or long life. And they say that there are certain types of people who tend to have, it's related on average to education and IQ, longer life expectancies and higher standards of living. I don't know if they've done actual scientific research, but as soon as I hear that, longer lives and better average standard of living, I believe that certain types of people also tend to age well. Aging well meaning being mentally and physically and energetically healthy well into their 80s and 90s. So worldwide, we're all within the Western developed world living longer and longer lives. This is turning the demographic and many East Asian and European and North American countries upside down, where a larger percentage of the country's population is now getting older and older, with declining birth rates, meaning there are fewer and fewer younger people. It's interesting. So the topic of this talk is, of course, one of those factors that scientists look at when they try to determine what creates so-called blue zones. Blue zones, the color blue, zones are those areas of the world that have the longest healthy life expectancy. People living into their 80s and 90s who are still actively walking around, talking, making sense longer than other humans. Those areas are in, I believe it's southern Italy, South America, Okinawa, Japan. If you look it up, check for blue zones, you'll see where they are. And scientists have identified that it has to do with, of course, the nutrition, the types of foods they eat, physical activity, the fact that they walk around and visit people or work in their gardens on a regular basis. And they've also identified something very important, which is purpose. So that's the topic I'd like to address today. Purpose is your own individual answer to the question, why am I here? For what reason do I exist? During this lifetime, whatever your system of belief says follows after death, while I'm here in this world that we know, what am I here to do, or to serve, or to produce? There's got to be some reason. And those people who live the longest, they have that sense of purpose, whatever it is, community, gardening. In Japanese, they call this Ikigai. Now, if you look it up, it's become a trend word in the last, I think, 5 years or so. Ikigai is your reason for being or your sense of purpose. And I believe now, from what I see happening worldwide, now more than ever, because traditional roles and traditional structures and belief systems have broken down, I now see a young generation of people between the age of 15 and, for me, mid-30s, around 35, who are lacking a sense of purpose. And we see this in a multitude of negative symptoms. We see skyrocketing levels in North America, but I'm sure it's coming this way through the UK into Western Europe, of loneliness, depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, and suicides. All kinds of negative behaviors. And where does this come from? Lack of purpose. This is the way I see it. Now, the question, and here's the thing, people want to have a sense of purpose. In some cultures, in some parts of the world, that's handed to you. You are told what system of beliefs you are to follow and to serve, and that's it. I'll give you an example. At one point, a few years ago, I went to visit the Amish. The Amish are a community of people originally mostly from Germany and Switzerland who, because of religious persecution, moved to Canada and the United States, and they still speak their own dialect of German, which they call Pennsylvanian Dutch, which for them they call Pennsylvanische Deutsch. And they are one of the few, let's say, communities or belief systems where they prefer not to have their children or their grandchildren learn more than they know in their lives. Think about it. Most of us, depending on our education, where we grow up and our opportunities, most humans actually prefer their own children to have better schooling, more knowledge, better university education, and better careers than we have had. We wish to see growth from one generation to another. In a lot of communities, parts of the world, a lot of families, that is a normal thing. Within the Amish communities, they prefer not to adopt anything into their lives from the modern world. Now, sometimes they catch youngsters with iPhones and whatnot, but according to their official rules, in order to stay in the community and not get kicked out, they prefer not to drive cars. They drive wagons like 200 years ago, drawn by a horse. No radio, television, smartphones, tablets. They don't use computers. They prefer nothing with electricity, in fact. And they do have a system to allow each individual person to choose to live this life or not. In their system, it's called Rumspringe, which is German for to jump around. So in their youth, it's different from community to community, but around 16, 17, 18, or 19, they're allowed to just leave the community for some months. They're usually expected to come back within a year or two and make a decision and tell everyone in the family, I'm going to stay and follow the Amish way of life and rules because they're strict and religious communities, or I'm going to live as an outsider, in which case the family usually breaks off contact with them. And they have an over 80%, 8 out of 10, 80% return rate. So that's interesting to think about. It tells you something. Now, what is it? It's their sense of purpose that seems to make them happy, I think. Now, when we talk about finding your purpose or Ikigai, I hope you find yours. I found mine at age 12. I was born in 1973. When I was 12 years old in 1985, I decided that I loved the martial arts, and magic more than anything else. And I said, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to be a martial artist and a magician. And of course, I finished high school. I went to university, studied linguistics. But every step I took was moving in the direction of following those two lifelong paths. So I found mine. And I'm lucky enough to say I love my work. So generally speaking, most people who get to know me, they say, Ryan, you're the happiest person I've ever met. And I have to say, generally speaking, I think, one of the happiest people I've ever met. It's because I love what I do and I do what I love. I enjoy my work very much. Every job I've had in my life, except for student jobs, I sold door to door. I was a waiter in a catering company. But starting the age of 25, after university, all of my jobs were either showing people what I can do or teaching people something. So that has become my role, okay? And I'm doing this with you now. Generally speaking, there are 4 basic rules to follow when trying to identify your own purpose or Ikigai, to find your way. And it has nothing to do with age. Everyone says it's better if you decide younger. I decided at a young age. But it doesn't matter. People change paths at any age in life. So ask yourself these 4 questions in order to find your purpose, your Ikigai. Number one, ask yourself, what do I enjoy doing? Okay, if we're lucky enough to find a way to make that our living, to make it our business, I can tell you it's a great way to go. Number two, what am I good at? Here we have to be realistic enough to look at our competitors, look at the market, and evaluate ourselves honestly. And listen to other people when they give us honest feedback. Just because you love something doesn't mean you're good at it. And it's better if you find something you're also good at. Number three, what can I earn money with? We have to be realistic. If it doesn't bring in money for you to make a living, well then it's just a hobby, okay? Number four, what gives positive value to the world? Those are the four questions. Most people struggle to find one. It's a good thing to find two. Happy people find three, and those who are lucky enough to be able to find all four things and say, I like it, I'm good at it, I make a living out of it, it's my business, so people pay me money to do it, and I'm bringing positive value to other people in the world, well then, that's the first basic steps to finding your purpose, your Ikigai. I hope that helps. And as always, this is a one-way talk where I'm imagining that you're sitting here with me and I'm trying to have a talk to you. And take a look at where I've posted this, because there will always be the opportunity to write your comments or questions below, and I'll be very happy to answer your questions, which will help to make this more of a realistic talk. Thank you very much. I usually end these with a do's and don'ts, but I've just covered it. Do those four things. Ask yourself those four questions, and if you can find a 3 out of 4, or even better, a 4 out of 4, that's your purpose. That's your direction to work towards. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.